Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. We'll be talking everything Denver sports and beyond. Please like and subscribe if you are a sports fan like me. Let's do this.
Welcome into the Sharp Sports YouTube podcast. My name is Andrew Sharp. The Denver Broncos have punched their ticket to the AFC title game, hosting the New England Patriots for the first time in 10 years. Last time the Broncos went to a Super Bowl, they beat the Patriots here in Denver 20-18 in Peyton Manning's last season with the Broncos. Broncos-Patriots rivalry is renewed, and I hope for many more years to come. However, I'm going to start the beginning of this pod talking about the unfortunate injury to Bo Nix, as really there'll be plenty of time to break down the game with Buffalo Bills, and hopefully the Broncos season does continue into the Super Bowl. But I really, it's really a gut punch for Bo Nix to not be able to be with this team as they keep playing in the playoffs. And remember, there's only 4 teams left. It's only 4 professional teams right now who are still playing football. And the Denver Broncos are very lucky and very fortunate and have earned their spot. I don't question that at all. But I have been a believer from the beginning. I was begging the Broncos. You can go back and look at my channel videos here, talking over and over and over again about draft and develop, draft and develop, draft and develop. And this season is what you've seen. Now, I understand there are still people who frankly don't like Bo Nix at all. I think that he is not very good. He does have periods of the game where he does not look especially great, but he also has periods of the game, especially in the fourth quarter and when it comes to crunch time, where he is absolutely magnificent. And he showed that fortitude, that fire to compete, and that execution down the stretch against the Buffalo Bills. And quite frankly, in my opinion, most of the pressure to advance in the playoffs was still on the Buffalo Bills, as they had sort of been coronated by the national media as it being their year because Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes are not in the AFC title picture. However, that being said, I know that Bo Nix will recover from this. I have no doubt that he will be able to be ready for next season. I just really feel terrible that he is not able to, frankly, enjoy the fruits of his labors, because I understand and I know what kind of time, effort, commitment, and frankly, what heart he poured into this season for this Bronco team, for this Bronco franchise, for the city of Denver. It's been a long 10 years since the Broncos won a Super Bowl. And yeah, the Broncos overall are a little spoiled. But, it's good to be in an NFL city that measures its standards by championships, not by high fives, stat padding, or, frankly, hollow victories. So I just really wanted to say that Bo Nix, city of Denver, believes in you. I've been a believer from the very beginning. Big fan of yours. I have no doubt that you will be supporting your teammates once you get out of surgery for your broken ankle. And I just wish that you were able to play in what I'm hoping is the next 2 games for the Denver Broncos, the final 2 games of any NFL season, which are the championship games and the Super Bowl. But I have no doubt that you, Bo Nix, are the future for quarterback for the Denver Broncos this year and into the future. Happy you're a Denver Bronco. Wish you the speediest recovery. And been a believer since the very beginning. I want to start talking about this game right around halftime. Denver Broncos were playing fairly well, had turned Josh Allen over once already, and managed after a pretty good drive by the Denver Broncos to take a 17-10 lead with a nice deep pass to little Jordan Humphrey. Touchdown for the Broncos. Will Lutz extra point is good. Broncos kickoff. Managed to get Josh Allen to scramble around And Nick Bonito, with a very key fumble on Josh Allen, recovered. All of a sudden, Broncos are able to turn around, 3 seconds left, kick a field goal. All of a sudden, Broncos have scored 10 points unanswered and take what I would describe as a fairly commanding 20-10 lead into halftime for a team that has trailed often in first halves and games. I'll be honest, I was feeling exceedingly confident at 20-10 Broncos over the Buffalo Bills. But unfortunately for the start of the third quarter, started out again with just a crazy bad drive by the Buffalo Bills. Again, turnovers where they basically just kept shooting themselves in the foot. Josh Allen was sacked, strip sack, fumble. Another Nick Bonito play. I mean, Nick Bonito had an unbelievable game. And Broncos managed to recover. Unfortunately, do not punch it in. Had they punched it in at that point, 30-10, I truly think the Broncos would not have gone to overtime. But at that point, 4 plays, Broncos offense has stalled a little bit, but Denver enjoying a 23-10 lead. But credit to the Bills. They came right down the field. Keon Coleman, touchdown response. All of a sudden, Broncos 23, Bills 17. And then Nix has the pick by the D lineman as he threw the ball in traffic. Bills get the ball back. And Josh Allen, again, throws it to P.J. Locke a few plays later. And now Josh Allen has 3 turnovers, 2 fumbles, and a pick, all in the span of really actually not that much real time, basically the end of the second half, start of the third quarter. And I believe, even though I understand that the game went to overtime, that was one of the more critical parts of the game, in my opinion, because quite frankly, with the Broncos offense really kind of stalling out at various points, especially in the third quarter. Denver Broncos only managed to get a field goal in the third quarter. Granted, Buffalo only scored 1 touchdown, but they just kept basically killing themselves with costly turnovers. And really, it comes down to this. Josh Allen is a great player. Josh Allen is a league MVP, probably will win it again this year. And frankly, I would argue that if Josh Allen were not on the Bills, they would be a 4-win team. They would maybe be a 4-win team. They might be less. I think that this is actually one of the weaker Buffalo squads to play in the postseason. They did not win their division. Yes, they went 12-5, but some of their victories were quite hollow, as I detailed a little bit in the preview. And it really is, again, if all the national media is picking one way, all of a sudden the pressure's on the visitor, pressure's on the visiting team. And Josh Allen, even his staunchest supporters, could not defend this one, because despite some of the good passing numbers that Josh Allen was able to put across, 3 lost fumbles, 2 interceptions thrown. You can't win football games with those kind of turnovers. You just can't. If Bo Nix was turning the ball over like that, granted he'd have 1, but if he had multiple picks in playoff games, I guarantee you he'd hear about it from me as well. I'd be critical of him flat out. And unfortunately for Josh Allen, he took the loss very hard. Obviously, in the press conference, I don't want to get into what emotions he did or didn't display at the press conference, because quite frankly, all you can ask for guys who are making as much money as he is to care, and clearly he does. But unfortunately for Josh Allen, it did cost his coach his job today, as news broke this morning that the Buffalo Bills have parted ways with their head coach Sean McDermott. I was not surprised at all. I had been sort of saying that he had been a bit overrated. He had gotten the Bills turned around. They were terrible before he got there, and he's a builder, but he is not a finisher. The other problem for the Bills with Sean McDermott is that their defense progressively kept getting worse and worse and worse. Sean McDermott's a defensive guy, and frankly, the Broncos' offense leaves a lot to be desired, as I've detailed on this pod and certainly many others. Denver's offense can be very good, but it's certainly not. This is not where I would like to see the Denver offense be overall for this year. but it is what it is at this point. And the Broncos offense put up 33 points on a Bills defense that with a head coach who's supposed to be, that's his side of the ball. And his side of the ball for the Buffalo Bills in these playoff losses, quite frankly, has been terrible. And unfortunately for Sean McDermott, he is no longer employed by the Buffalo Bills. I wanted to go back because I remembered this little rant that I went on, and I found it. I found it because the Buffalo Bills hosted the Denver Broncos a mere year or so ago and were able to beat the Broncos badly in an AFC wildcard game. But again, Broncos managed to get a little sweet revenge here in Denver. And given all the people who were picking the Buffalo Bills to win this game, this is all about Josh Allen. Let's take a little history on my little rants about what the actual playoff history is for the Josh Allen era and the Buffalo Bills. When we talk about the Buffalo Bills' lack of postseason success goes back to my childhood. Buffalo Bills in the 90s made 4 straight consecutive Super Bowls and lost them all. If you haven't ever seen it, ESPN 30 for 30 documentary called The Four Falls of Buffalo, probably one of my favorite, if not my favorite sports documentary, certainly that ESPN has put out, where they go through and talk about each season that the Buffalo Bills came up short in the Super Bowl and those teams and what the fallout was for that. And unfortunately for the Bills are starting to mirror a little bit of that in the Josh Allen era. This is a Bills team that was a mere 13 seconds away from beating the Kansas City Chiefs in the 2021-22 divisional round. Of course, the Chiefs were going to host the AFC title game, in which it was Joe Burrow and the Bengals who would turn around and do the same thing to the Chiefs 1 week later, coming back to win that game. But they've had some pretty disastrous playoff losses in Buffalo. Ever since Josh Allen got there, he's established himself as a MVP favorite. And the Buffalo Bills have won a lot of games since he arrived. But they've had some pretty epic playoff losses. They have not made a Super Bowl. And I'm going to say the years. That way we don't get confused. Because we play the regular season in 1 year and the postseason in the other. 2019-2020. Buffalo Bills, after missing the playoffs for basically almost a decade, made it as 5 seed in Josh Allen's second year. They had a 16, I'd forgotten about this, I had to do a little research on this one. They had a 16-0 lead over the Houston Texans in Houston. Ended up losing 22-19. Josh Allen certainly played good enough to win, the team did not. Lost on a field goal in overtime. At that point, for Buffalo's 6th consecutive playoff loss since their last playoff win, which was December of 95. So we're talking 2020 to 95, 15 years. They still hadn't won a playoff game. By the way, in that time period, the Broncos have won 3 Super Bowls. 3 Super Bowls and played in a couple more. 2020-21 season. Now, Buffalo's established as a very good team. They're not a 5 seed anymore, they're the 2 seed. Easily make it to the AFC title game versus Kansas City in Kansas City. They take an early 9-0 lead before the Chiefs offense took over in the second quarter. Buffalo did not respond. Ended up getting blown out by the Chiefs 38-24. Chiefs team would actually go on and lose to Tom Brady and the Buccaneers in the Super Bowl. 2021, 2022 season, lost the miracle, I would say probably still the one that will, if they do not win a Super Bowl with Josh Allen, which I think that's a little premature to say, but these seasons add up. And Josh Allen plays very physical. This is the miracle 13-second game, which the Chiefs came back after basically trailing most of the game and ended up losing this game. There are articles written about this game that are quite interesting, and I'm going to quote one of them in just a second. It's always fun to go back and relive some of these. I watch these games, but because this is the Buffalo Bills history, not the Broncos history, I remember a lot of it, but I'm not as quite as well versed with it. It's funny reading this article back. This is an article on ESPN, still up. You can find it dated from 2022, right after they lost the game. And Chiefs ended up ending the Bills season 42-36. Buffalo has yet to win a road playoff game under coach Sean McDermott. This is at the time, of course. 0-4. Their goal of reaching the Super Bowl and getting past the Chiefs will have to wait at least another year. The Bills spent the offseason preparing to beat Kansas City after losing in last year's AFC title game at Arrowhead. This time, the game ended in devastating fashion on the first drive of overtime after the teams scored all 4 times in the final 2 minutes of regulation. It was bananas. If you are a sports fan, well, I would think you watched it. If you have not, highly recommend it. There are ways of getting to that. Buffalo, brutal loss. 25 points scored in the last 2 minutes of regulation are the second most of regulation in any game in the Super Bowl era. So basically, if their defense had gotten one stop, they could have slipped by the Chiefs that day, but they did not. And so we continue with the Buffalo Bills playoff history. 2022-2023 barely squeaked by the Miami Dolphins at home 34-31. Next week in the divisional round, get absolutely boat raced by the Cincinnati Bengals. Cincinnati Bengals are a good club, but Bengals got on top 14-0, never looked back. Bills offense was slow to start. This one is definitely more on Josh Allen than any of the others because he just never got going. The game was non-competitive, and that Bengal team would go on and lose the Super Bowl, to the Los Angeles Rams in a game they were definitely in, could have won. And the Cincinnati Bengals emerged as a true Super Bowl contender along with the Chiefs. It's really been Chiefs, Bills, and Bengals for the last 5 years. 2023, 2024, about this time last year. Bills are again the 2 seed, with KC being the 3 seed this time. Kansas City had some offensive struggles last year. Their defense was excellent, but they lost some games down the stretch, which forced them to go on the road. Ravens were the 1 seed. KC went on the road, beat the Bills 27-24 in Buffalo, in a game where the Buffalo Bills had every opportunity over and over again to finally get over the hump, because of course, instead of having to go to Kansas City, this time Kansas City has to come to them. No excuses. This is the time to win this game. Buffalo does not. This was the 3rd loss to the Chiefs in the playoffs. So the Chiefs aren't just torturing the Broncos and the Chargers and the Raiders. Chiefs have been torturing other teams in the NFL as well, because the Chiefs went ahead and went on the road to Baltimore and won the AFC title game, making Lamar Jackson look timid and weak, and on their way to beating yet again the San Francisco 49ers for yet another Super Bowl title, something they had done 5 years previous. That marks KC ended up winning. Buffalo missed a field goal that was slightly reminiscent of the 90s missed field goal by Scott Norwood. In my youth watching the Super Bowl, I do remember that kick. Buffalo's 3rd consecutive exit in the divisional round. So they made that AFC title game early in their Josh Allen era. They have not made it back to an AFC title game since. These games are hard. With 58 regular season wins in the last 5 years, the loss also tied them with the New Orleans Saints from 2017 to 2021 with the most regular season wins. Wait, Sean Payton. See how this all circles around? most wins in a 5-year stretch for a team to not make a Super Bowl. And of course, with yesterday's loss, that only amplifies the point I made at this time a year ago. And the Buffalo Bills have now, I saw the stat today, they basically are number 1 or number 2 in points, wins. They have basically accomplished everything they possibly can in the regular season without an actual Super Bowl appearance or a Super Bowl title. It's really never happened. It's really unprecedented for a playoff performer like Josh Allen, who actually has had some very good. He's had some bad games. Yesterday was not one of his best, but he's had some other very good games where Sean McDermott's defense failed him badly. And the Buffalo Bills, essentially, no one has actually won as many games and as many playoff games as they have in the last 6 years and failed to make a Super Bowl or win a Super Bowl title. So the pain and misery continues for the Buffalo Bills. And I understand that most of my focus is on the Denver Broncos. But I also can appreciate the history of the NFL, the history of the team, and of course, the misery that has been the Buffalo Bills my entire lifetime. And of course, no Buffalo playoff loss or Bronco win can ever be just a normal game. It has to be steeped in controversy. Probably the most one that's getting discussed today is the Jaquan McMillan pick, in which he managed to wrestle the ball away from James Cook. Some are arguing that Cook had the catch and wrestled the ground. But people are failing to understand is that all of the rules favor the offense. In saying all that, the NFL has made a catch a very convoluted concept. But the one thing they have made quite clear is that you have to, as an offensive player, complete the process of the catch. And unfortunately for James Cook, he did not complete that pass. He did not complete the process, I should say, of that catch. And Jaquan McMillan completed the process of the interception. And it was a absolutely brilliant play by Jaquan McMillan, a player whom, quite frankly, has shined this entire season, much more than the Broncos' first-round pick, Jahdae Barron. So it'll be interesting to see what the Broncos decide to do with McMillan as he is going to move into restricted free agency after the season. But my guess is they will figure something out because, quite frankly, he's made some huge plays, pass breakups and the like for the Broncos. And I would also say that, again, we've talked, this is a well-known thing in the NFL, which is if you're constantly needing the refs to bail you out as a team, they're going to screw you at some point. They're going to blow a call. They're not going to see something. And the other part of it, of course, that I would argue, even though it's happens more in the NBA than the NFL, is that hopefully when you're playing playoff games in your home stadium, you get some of those calls. The Buffalo Bills are not playing in their home stadium on Saturday. And I, quite frankly, thought that it was categorically insane given the fact that they had only got their first road playoff win against the Jacksonville Jaguars the previous week, that somehow they were going to run the table and play all of their playoff games on the road and advance to the Super Bowl. The only team that has really done that in the last 5 years to that extent is the Kansas City Chiefs. And we all know that Josh Allen physically is a very talented player, but he does not have the pelts on the wall that Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs have. He doesn't. And frankly, they've lost head to head. So it's a very good win for the Broncos. It's an ugly win for the Broncos in the sense of their defense did not play well, but they played good enough to win. And I knew that, quite frankly, Josh Allen was going to present matchup problems. James Cook was definitely going to present stopping the run problems for the Broncos. And luckily for the Broncos and Jaquan McMillan, I bring that play up specifically because one of the many turnovers, Nick Bonito had a couple of them as well with the strip sacks and the fumbles lost by Josh Allen. Too many mistakes. This Bronco team, the only criticism I have of the defense all year is that they have not turned the ball over against their opponents as much. And in this game, yes, they gave up some big plays. Yes, they had some defensive lapses in coverage. But when it came down to it, this Denver Bronco team, especially on defense, produced game-changing turnovers and is really the reason why they are playing and hosting the New England Patriots next week in Denver. And of course, with the absence of Bo Nix, Jared Stidham is now elevated to QB1, with Sam Ehlinger QB2, and the Broncos have now re-signed Ben DiNucci as QB3, and we're in a C situation. For Jared Stidham, Jared Stidham was brought here by Sean Payton. He's being paid fairly reasonable money for a backup quarterback. He was really seen as a sort of, if Bo Nix is not what we think he is, security blanket. And Jared Stidham, last year at the end of training camp, before the regular season started in 2024, was pretty bitter and disappointed, and really thought that he had a shot to beat out Bo Nix for the starter as for the Denver Broncos that year. I would tell him that quite kindly that Bo Nix was drafted as his first-round pick to be here for the future of the Denver Broncos. But from all accounts, including Sean Payton, Jared Stidham has performed well in practices throughout the season. It really is an unprecedented situation because even Jeff Hostetler and Nick Foles, who came in and played later for the injured Carson Wentz for the Eagles and went ahead and won a Super Bowl, they both came in December. They both came in to get their feet wet with some regular season games before leading their teams to a Super Bowl victory. So it really is unprecedented for any backup quarterback to have his first start for the team in an AFC, basically a Final Four game. I'll be rooting for Jared Stidham. And I would also say to Jared Stidham that the league has never been this starved for quarterback play. There are a lot of bad quarterback situations across the league. Luckily for the Denver Broncos, they are not in that position anymore. They were in that position before Bo Nix, which I've documented countless times on this channel. So I would tell Jared Stidham, now's the time. Now's the time. Don't worry about any of the critics. Play your game. You certainly have, it's on the coaching staff to prepare you. But if you think you're as good as you think you are, and you thought that you should have been the starter over Bo Nix, which is fine. That's you being a competitor. I get that. I don't think you are. But prove it. Because I'll tell you this. Jared Stidham, you come in here, you win this AFC title game, and then you take the Broncos to a Super Bowl and you deliver a Super Bowl victory for this franchise, for this city. You may not play for the Broncos after this because you may go get a starter job somewhere else, and that's fine. But I promise you, you bring the Denver Broncos and its fans an NFL Super Bowl title, you'll never pay for another drink in this town for as long as you live. And of course, looking towards the Sunday matchup with the New England Patriots here in Denver. Again, we're having a very mild to warm winter here in the West and Denver specifically. The weather on Sunday was cold, but really was fairly immaculate for January football. This week it looks to be even nicer, a little bit warmer. And hopefully the Denver Broncos will get a little bit of a boost, as there has been rumored, eyeballed, that maybe J.K. Dobbins can come back for this AFC title game. He would certainly help the Broncos have a balanced attack with Jared Stidham. Jared Stidham will certainly root for that because it would put less pressure on him to deliver under pressure. I'm going to basically do a bunch more breakdown on a Friday, probably live preview on Friday. But everything for the Broncos, even without Bo Nix, is still ahead of it. This is still a team that is, quite frankly, been doubted, picked against, hated by a lot of the national media, which is fine. Just fine. Just own it. Wear it. I would really laugh if the Denver Broncos grind their way with these ugly wins. Just grind their way to an NFL championship and kind of just really just stick it to the whole league. And yeah, people will complain and say it's a boring Super Bowl and that Denver shouldn't be there and they didn't earn it and blah, blah, blah. Okay. Sounds great. I would love that. I think it would be hilarious. And it would be it would be a feather in Sean Payton's cap, no matter what. So Denver Broncos, I'm sure, are preparing diligently for the New England Patriots because The top 2 seeds in the AFC have advanced to the AFC title game, and Denver will be there for the first time in a decade. Once again, my name is Andrew Sharp, Sharp Sports YouTube podcast, coming to you a little late on Monday evening, but happy to be here. And go Broncos. And I'll be back with a little bit of a preview later on this week. Thanks for tuning in.